The twin suns of Vareth Prime burned red and gold across the horizon as the selection ceremony began. Aliens from 5 different races stood around the great arena, their metallic eyes reflecting the glow of the crystals above. The air shimmered with whispers, laughter, and judgment. And in the center stood Ethan Cross, the only human ever allowed to stand among them. He was tall, his dark jacket scorched and torn from battles long past. The aliens called him the last human soldier. But today, he wasn't fighting. Today, he had to choose a partner, someone to stand by him in the coming galactic trials. Around him stood hundreds of alien candidates, powerful, trained, gifted in combat or mind. But among them was one girl who didn't fit at all. She was small, fragile, with pale blue skin and dull silver eyes. Her name was Lyra. No one wanted her. Not even her own people. "Look," one alien hissed, "the human is staring at the worthless one." Another laughed, his tentacles trembling. Maybe he pities her. Or maybe he's blind. Ethan heard every word. But his gaze stayed fixed on the quiet girl at the back. She wasn't trying to be noticed. She wasn't trying at all. She just stood there, head down, hands clasped, as if waiting for it to be over. The overseer's voice echoed across the arena. "Choose, human. The trials begin at dawn. Choose your companion, or walk alone." Ethan took one slow step forward. Then another. The crowd murmured. He walked past the tall warriors, the shining telepaths, the glowing energy beings. He stopped right in front of the silent girl. Every eye turned toward him. Lyra didn't look up. Ethan extended his hand. "Come with me," he said quietly. For a moment, there was only silence. Then came the laughter. The arena exploded with mocking voices. "The human chooses the defective one. He's doomed before the first trial begins." What a joke, humans truly are fools. But Ethan didn't care. He just stood there, calm, eyes firm. Finally, Lyra lifted her gaze. And in that single glance, Ethan saw something the others didn't, a flicker of power deep in her dull silver eyes. Something ancient. Something hidden. She hesitated, then slowly took his hand. The overseer slammed his staff against the ground. "So be it. The human has chosen. Let the trials begin." As they walked away together, the laughter still echoed behind them. But when the crowd turned away, Lyra whispered softly, almost too soft for anyone to hear. "You shouldn't have chosen me, human." Ethan glanced at her. "Why?" She looked up, and her dull eyes glowed for a second, bright and sharp like a blade of light. "Because when they find out what I really am, they'll come for both of us." The laughter from the arena faded, replaced by a sudden wave of silence. Somewhere deep beneath the planet's surface, something stirred. Ethan didn't know it yet, but his choice had just triggered a war that would shake the entire galaxy. The next morning, the great bells of Vareth Prime rang through the mist. The galactic trials were about to begin. All chosen pairs, alien champions and their partners, stood in a massive stone arena that floated high above the planet's glowing oceans. The air was alive with tension. Sparks of power shimmered around the stronger races. Each pair looked fierce and ready for battle. And then there was Ethan and Lyra, standing quietly at the edge, the crowd whispering and laughing once again. "Look at them," one alien sneered. "The human and the broken girl. They'll be the first to die." Ethan ignored them. He glanced at Lyra. She was silent, her hands clasped together. But something about her had changed. Her calmness wasn't fear anymore, it was focus. The overseer appeared above them, his crystal armor shining like a star. "The first trial," he announced, "is the trial of shadows. Only those who understand each other will survive." He raised his staff, and the arena darkened. Suddenly, the floor cracked open, and black mist poured out, swallowing everything. The light vanished. The sound of laughter turned into echoes. Ethan drew his pulse knife, eyes scanning the darkness. "Lyra, stay close." No answer. He turned, but she was gone. A whisper echoed around him, cold and distant. "She's gone, human. Just like your world." Figures moved through the shadows, dark, twisted shapes that looked like ghosts of his past. His fallen soldiers. His destroyed city. The same memories that haunted him since Earth burned. Ethan's breath trembled. This isn't real. But the shadows attacked. He fought hard, cutting through them with skill born of pain. Each strike was fast, desperate. But for every shadow he cut, 2 more rose. Then he heard it, a faint voice. Ethan, stop fighting them. He froze. The voice was soft, like music in the dark. They're not your enemies, the voice said. They are your memories. Let them go. The shadows surrounded him, whispering his failures. For a moment, he wanted to give up. Then a gentle hand touched his shoulder. It was Lyra. She stood beside him, glowing faintly in the darkness. Her silver eyes were no longer dull, they shone with pure light. The shadows hissed and backed away. What are you? Ethan whispered. Lyra didn't answer. She lifted her hands, and waves of silver light flowed from her palms, washing through the darkness. The arena shook. The black mist screamed and dissolved, revealing the bright blue sky once again. When the light faded, only Ethan and Lyra stood unharmed. Every other team lay on the ground, gasping, defeated by their own fears. The overseer stared down, shocked. Impossible. No one has ever cleansed the shadows completely. Ethan turned to Lyra. She looked calm again, as if nothing had happened. I told you, she said softly. You shouldn't have chosen me. Why? Ethan asked again. She looked at him for a long moment, then whispered. Because the power inside me isn't supposed to exist anymore. Before Ethan could respond, the ground trembled violently. Cracks of blue light tore across the arena floor. From deep beneath the planet, a voice, ancient and angry, echoed through the skies. Who dares awaken my bloodline? The overseer's eyes widened in terror. He looked at Lyra as if seeing a ghost. No, it cannot be. That power was sealed millennia ago. Lyra took a step back, fear in her eyes for the first time. They found me. The crowd screamed as the entire arena began to collapse. Ethan grabbed her hand. Run. But the voice thundered again. The child of the forbidden light has returned. The twin suns darkened. Shadows rose from the ground, and the trials turned into chaos. Ethan didn't understand what was happening, but he knew one thing. Whatever Lyra was hiding, the galaxy would kill to stop it. The arena lay in ruins. Smoke and dust rose into the red sky of Vareth Prime, and the once proud spectators ran in fear. The voice that had echoed from below still lingered in the air, deep, ancient, and furious. Ethan pulled Lyra behind a fallen pillar. What was that thing? What did it mean by bloodline? Lyra's silver eyes trembled. She looked terrified, not of the destruction around them, but of herself. It's too late, she whispered. They'll come for me now. They always do. Ethan frowned. Who will? Before she could answer, the ground cracked open again. A burst of dark blue light shot upward, and a huge creature emerged, part metal, part shadow, with glowing runes carved into its chest. The overseer shouted from above, It's the guardian of the depths. It awakens only when ancient blood is near. The alien crowd screamed and scattered. Ethan tightened his grip on his pulse knife. So it's after you, he said. Lyra nodded, eyes glistening. It's not after me. It's after what's inside me. The guardian roared. The shockwave threw Ethan backward. He crashed into a wall but stood again, coughing. The monster's gaze locked onto Lyra. In that moment, something inside Ethan changed. He had faced death before, on Earth, during the war with the alien legions. But never like this. He couldn't understand why, but he refused to let her die. He charged. His knife burned bright blue as he activated the last of his human tech, a plasma override that drained his life with every strike. Sparks flew as he slashed at the Guardian's armor, cutting through metal and shadow alike. But the monster didn't fall. It swung its massive arm, sending Ethan flying across the arena. He hit the ground hard, pain tearing through his ribs. Ethan! Lyra screamed, running to him. He tried to stand but collapsed. Run, get out of here, he gasped. But she shook her head. Tears glowed silver as they rolled down her cheeks. I can't. You don't understand. If I run, it'll destroy everything. Her voice broke, and for a moment, the air itself seemed to pulse. Then her hands began to glow. A strange symbol appeared on her skin, like a spiral of light and shadow intertwined. The Guardian froze. Ethan shielded his eyes as a surge of energy exploded from her body. The arena filled with pure silver light. Every stone, every creature, every piece of metal trembled. The Overseer screamed, "She carries the blood of the Lost Makers." That power was erased from history. Lyra's eyes opened, completely white now, blazing with energy older than the galaxy itself. "I am not what they made me," she said, her voice echoing like thunder. "But I will not let them control me again." She raised her hands, and the Guardian's body began to crack apart. It howled in agony, then shattered into dust, leaving only silence behind. The light faded slowly. Lyra fell to her knees, trembling, weak. Ethan crawled toward her, barely breathing. "Lyra, what are you?" She looked up, her voice barely a whisper. "A mistake," she said. "A weapon they tried to erase." Ethan shook his head. "No. You saved me. You saved all of them." But she didn't smile. Instead, she looked at the sky, where dark ships were now descending through the clouds. Sleek, black, and marked with the same spiral symbol. "They found me," she whispered. "The Maker's hunters. They'll destroy this planet to get me back." Ethan looked up at the incoming fleet, his jaw tightening. "Then they'll have to go through me first." The first blast hit the far mountains, sending waves of fire across the horizon. The war had begun. And as the planet burned, the worthless girl everyone had laughed at became the most wanted being in the galaxy, and the only hope left for humanity's survival. The skies of Vareth Prime burned red as the alien warships descended through the clouds. Their engines screamed like thunder, and blue light flashed across the ruins below. Ethan stood beside Lyra, both of them staring upward as the first fleet of hunter ships broke through the atmosphere. The spiral mark on their hulls glowed, the same symbol now faintly pulsing on Lyra's skin. She was pale and weak, her body trembling after the blast of power she unleashed. Ethan supported her by the arm. "We have to move," he said. "Now." She nodded weakly. "They'll find us no matter where we go. The hunters can track my blood." "Then we'll make it hard for them," Ethan said, scanning the burning horizon. He spotted a fallen alien skimmer, a small transport craft smashed into a crater. "That thing can still fly." They ran through the wreckage, the ground shaking with each explosion. The air smelled of fire and iron. Overhead, the warships began firing plasma bolts into the city below. Each impact tore buildings apart like sand. Screams filled the air. The alien civilians who had mocked them hours ago were now running in terror. Lyra stopped for a moment, looking back. "They're dying because of me." Ethan turned sharply. "No. They're dying because of them. You didn't bring the war. You just woke up the truth." For a moment, their eyes met, human warmth against alien sorrow. Then another explosion threw them both to the ground. "Move!" Ethan shouted, pulling her up again. They reached the skimmer. Ethan forced open the hatch, hot smoke spilling out. The controls were half melted, but the core still pulsed with faint blue light. Lyra climbed in first. Her hands trembled as she touched the console. The metal reacted to her presence, the ship systems humming to life as silver light spread across the controls. Ethan blinked. "You can interface with alien tech." She nodded faintly. All of it was made from the same design. The makers built every machine, before they disappeared. Ethan took the pilot seat. "Good. Then maybe their mistake can fly." The engines roared, and the skimmer lifted from the crater just as a hunter warship locked onto them. A warning siren screamed. Lyra's eyes glowed faintly again, and she reached out her hand. A shield of silver light surrounded the skimmer as plasma blasts rained down around them. Ethan gritted his teeth. "Hang on." He pushed the throttle to maximum. The skimmer shot upward through the smoke, weaving between burning towers and falling debris. Hunter drones pursued them, firing rapidly. "Faster!" Lyra cried. "I'm trying." Ethan shouted back. The controls shook violently. Sparks flew. Then, suddenly, One of the plasma bolts hit the rear engine. The ship spun out of control. They were falling, straight toward the shattered city below. Ethan yanked the manual lever, fighting the spin. The world blurred. Then, impact. The skimmer crashed into a deserted marketplace, sliding through dust and flame until it slammed against a wall. Silence. Only the crackle of fire. Ethan coughed, forcing the hatch open. His arm was bleeding, but he ignored it. Lyra. She was lying on the floor, breathing heavily. Her eyes flickered open. We have to reach the mountains. There's an old Maker vault there. If we can get inside, they won't track us. Ethan helped her stand. Then that's where we're going. Above them, the warships circled like predators. One of them broke formation, lowering slowly toward the city. From its underbelly, a group of black-armored soldiers descended, their bodies glowing with the same strange light as Lyra's power. Their leader landed first. Tall. Masked. His voice echoed through the ruins. "Return the girl," he said, calm but deadly. "She does not belong to your kind." Ethan raised his blaster. "She does now." The hunter tilted his head. "You would die for her." Ethan smiled coldly. "Try me." The hunter's mask flickered, revealing a metallic face with burning blue eyes. "Very well. The last human soldier will die as the first to defy the Maker's will." Before Ethan could fire, Lyra's hand glowed again. A shockwave of silver light burst outward, knocking the hunters back. She screamed in pain, falling to her knees. Ethan caught her. "Lyra, stop. You'll kill yourself." But she shook her head, whispering, "I can't, let them take me alive." The leader recovered quickly, his eyes narrowing. "So the blood awakens again. Good. Then the prophecy is true." He raised his blade toward her. "Bring her to the core. The Makers will rise once more." Ethan fired. The blast hit the hunter square in the chest, but he didn't fall. He just smiled, the wound healing instantly. "Run!" Ethan shouted, grabbing Lyra's arm as the other hunters surrounded them. The sky above glowed brighter as more ships descended. The world of Vareth Prime was burning, and in the middle of it all, one human and one worthless girl ran toward the mountains, carrying a secret that could either save or destroy the galaxy. Night fell over Vareth Prime, though the planet's twin moons glowed blood-red above the burning horizon. Ethan and Lyra climbed higher into the mountains, their bodies bruised and exhausted from the battle below. Behind them, the once great city was nothing but smoke and flame. The wind howled through the jagged cliffs, carrying the distant hum of hunter warships searching the valleys below. Ethan led the way, holding a dim lantern salvaged from the wrecked skimmer. "How far?" he asked, his breath cold against the night air. Lyra moved weakly, her hands pressed against the spiral mark glowing faintly on her skin. "Not far. The vault is hidden beneath the crystal peaks. My kind built it before they vanished." Ethan looked at her. "Your kind, the Makers." She hesitated. "Not exactly. I was made from them. A hybrid. A copy of their design, but incomplete." He frowned. "You said they disappeared. What happened to them?" Her eyes turned distant. "They didn't disappear. They erased themselves. The Makers believed their power had corrupted creation itself. So they destroyed their civilization, and sealed the knowledge that made them gods." Ethan stared ahead at the endless peaks. "And that knowledge, it's inside you." Lyra nodded slowly. "A fragment of it. That's why the hunters want me. I am the key to the vault, the last door to the knowledge they lost." A thunderous sound cut her words short. A hunter scout ship swept across the sky, its lights scanning the rocks. Ethan grabbed her and pulled her into a narrow cave. The ship passed overhead, the beam missing them by inches. When the noise faded, Ethan sighed. "You said the vault is a door. What happens when it opens?" Lyra looked down. "I don't know. Maybe salvation. Maybe destruction. The Makers left a warning, only the pure of will may awaken the source." Ethan gave a tired laugh. "Then we're in trouble. I'm not pure anything." She actually smiled faintly. "You're human. That's close enough." They continued deeper into the mountain. The air grew colder, the walls smoother, no longer natural rock, but metallic, carved by machines long forgotten. Strange symbols glowed faintly along the passage. At last, they reached a vast chamber. The floor shimmered like glass. In the center stood a massive circular door, covered in spirals of light, the same mark that burned on Lyra's skin. "This is it," she whispered. "The vault of the Makers." Ethan stepped closer. "How do we open it?" She took a deep breath. "With blood, mine." Before he could stop her, she pressed her hand against the door. The mark on her skin flared, and lines of light spread across the metal. The whole mountain trembled. The air filled with a low hum, ancient, powerful, alive. The door began to turn. Suddenly, pain shot through her body. She screamed, collapsing as energy surged through her veins. Ethan caught her, shouting her name, but she couldn't hear him. The vault responded to her pain. The floor cracked open, revealing a deep pit of blue light. Inside it floated massive machines, cylinders, crystals, and holographic fragments of the Maker's lost empire. Then a voice filled the chamber. "Welcome, child of Echo. The bloodline has returned." Ethan turned, weapon raised. Who said that? The voice was neither male nor female. It came from everywhere and nowhere at once. "I am the Vault Intelligence, the last mind of the Makers. You bring the key. The source awakens." Lyra's eyes opened, glowing white. "Stop. I didn't come to awaken anything." The voice ignored her. "The galaxy is broken. The Makers foresaw this. Only the source can repair creation, or end it." Ethan stepped forward. "End it? What do you mean?" "The source is the beginning of all power, the code that shapes life itself. To use it is to rewrite reality. But the Makers feared what they became. That is why they buried it here." Lyra's voice trembled. "If it's awakened again, the same war will return. The Hunters, the Council, they'll fight for it until nothing is left." The Vault replied calmly. "Then the question remains, will you destroy the source, or become it?" The room fell silent. Ethan looked at Lyra, who stared at the glowing pit in horror. "You said you were made from them," he said quietly. "Maybe this is why. Maybe you're supposed to choose." Before she could answer, the mountain shook violently. A red beam tore through the chamber ceiling. The Hunters had found them. Dozens of armored soldiers descended through the smoke, led by the same masked commander from the city. His voice echoed coldly through the vault. "The key has opened the door. Good. Now hand her over, human." Ethan aimed his blaster. "You'll have to kill me first." The commander smiled behind his mask. That was always the plan. As the soldiers surrounded them, the vault began to glow brighter, reacting to Lyra's fear. The walls trembled, the light pulsed, and the air screamed. And in that blinding chaos, something ancient began to awaken beneath their feet. The vault roared like a living storm. The glowing pit at the center pulsed with waves of blue light that shook the entire mountain. The ground cracked open beneath Ethan and Lyra as the alien hunters advanced through the smoke. The masked commander raised his blade, its edge burning red. "Do not resist," he said calmly. "The source must awaken through the bloodline. Your resistance only delays the inevitable." Ethan aimed his blaster. "Then we'll delay it forever." He fired. The bolt struck the commander's chest, but the armor absorbed it. In a blur, the hunter lunged forward. Ethan blocked with his pulse knife, sparks flying as the two clashed. Lyra fell to her knees beside the glowing pit, clutching her head. Voices filled her mind, whispers, echoes, memories not her own. "Awaken us, set us free, become the source." She screamed. The mark on her skin burned brighter, spreading up her arms like veins of light. Ethan was thrown backward, the commander's strike sending him crashing into a wall. The hunters surrounded him, weapons raised. "Lyra," he shouted. "Whatever you're doing, stop." But she couldn't hear him. Her eyes were pure white now, glowing like stars. Energy burst from her body, forming a ring of light that expanded across the chamber. The hunters froze mid-motion, trapped in the glow. The vault's voice echoed again, deeper, louder. "The source has been triggered. The Child of Echo has reached activation threshold. Lyra floated above the pit, her feet leaving the ground. No, she cried. I don't want this. Choice is irrelevant, the Vault replied. The Source obeys the will of creation itself. The commander struggled against the energy field, his mask cracking from the pressure. Human. Stop her before she consumes everything. Ethan rose painfully to his feet. She's not your weapon. He looked up at Lyra. Her body trembled, light searing through her veins. Lyra, listen to me, he shouted. You can fight it. You're stronger than them. Her voice broke through the chaos. I can't control it. Ethan limped closer, ignoring the heat and the light tearing through the air. You can. You're not a mistake. You're you. Something in his words reached her. The violent glow slowed, flickering. The voices in her head screamed in protest. Do not resist us. We are your makers. Lyra clenched her fists. Then you should never have made me. A shockwave exploded outward. The hunters were thrown against the walls like rag dolls. The commander's mask shattered completely, revealing a half-mechanical face. His eyes glowed cold blue as he growled, She's rejecting the Source. The Vault's voice changed, distorted, almost desperate. Stability failure detected. Containment collapsing. Ethan reached Lyra just as she fell, catching her before she hit the floor. Her glow dimmed, her breathing shallow. You did it, he whispered. You stopped it. But the Vault disagreed. Containment breach in progress. The Source is unstable. Evacuation impossible. The entire chamber started to collapse. Cracks of light spread through the walls as molten energy poured from the pit. The commander struggled to his feet, clutching his broken armor. You fool, he hissed. You've doomed us all. Ethan glared at him. Maybe. But at least she's free. He grabbed Lyra and turned toward the tunnel. Hold on, he said, lifting her into his arms. The mountain roared as they ran. Rocks fell, fire burst from the cracks, and ancient machines screamed like dying gods. Behind them, the Vault exploded in a blinding flash of blue light. The shockwave threw them out of the tunnel and into the cold mountain air. They tumbled onto the snow, gasping. The entire peak was glowing now, pulsing like a living heart. Ethan shielded his eyes. Lyra, what's happening? She looked at the light with fear and sorrow. The Source, it's awake now. And it's choosing. Choosing what? She turned to him, her voice shaking. Whether to heal the galaxy, or erase it. The ground trembled again. A beam of blue energy shot upward from the mountain, piercing the sky and spreading into the stars. Every hunter ship in orbit turned toward the light. Across the planet, machines powered down, cities flickered, and the stars themselves seemed to pulse. Ethan held Lyra close as the wind howled around them. Can you stop it? Her answer was barely a whisper. No. I can only decide what it becomes. He looked at her, eyes filled with determination. Then we'll decide together. Far above them, the beam split into 3 paths, one toward the stars, one toward the planet's core, and one into the unknown void beyond space. The Source was awake. And somewhere deep inside it, something, or someone, was watching. The mountain burned like a star. From its peak, a beam of blue light tore through the clouds and reached far beyond the planet's atmosphere, stretching into the dark void between galaxies. Ethan and Lyra stood on the frozen ridge, the wind howling around them. The air shimmered with strange energy that made the sky ripple like water. The Source was awake, and it was calling them. Ethan tightened his grip on Lyra's arm. If we stay here, we're dead. That light is tearing everything apart. Lyra looked toward the beam, her silver eyes glowing softly. It's not light. It's a path. The Source wants us to enter. Ethan frowned. Enter? That thing nearly destroyed the mountain. I know, she said quietly. But it's not attacking. It's waiting. For me. He stared at her for a long moment, then nodded. Then I'm coming with you. She tried to protest. Ethan, no. If you go inside the Source, it might erase you. It wasn't made for humans. He smiled faintly. Neither was this galaxy. But here I am. For the first time since he met her, Lyra looked at him with something like hope. They walked into the beam together. The world around them dissolved into light and sound. Time bent, space folded, and suddenly they were standing in a place that wasn't a place at all, an endless void filled with shifting patterns of stars and symbols. It felt alive. The voice of the Vault Intelligence returned, calm but distant. You have entered the source. Here lies the memory of all creation. Lyra's hand trembled in Ethan's. It's beautiful, she whispered. But there was fear in her voice too. Ethan looked around. So this is what the Makers hid. A machine that can rewrite the universe. Incorrect, said the voice. The source is not a machine. It is consciousness. It observes, it remembers, it creates. The Makers were only its first students. Lyra turned toward the glowing core at the center of the void, a sphere of pure white energy, pulsing like a living heart. And now it wants a new student, she said. Ethan felt a deep vibration in the air, and another voice, softer, more human, spoke within his mind. You are the last of your kind, human. Would you like your world restored? He froze. My world. Visions flashed before his eyes, Earth, alive again. Cities rebuilt. Oceans blue. The faces of people he'd lost smiling once more. He whispered, you can bring them back. All things can return. All things can be rewritten. Lyra stepped closer to him. Ethan, don't listen. It's showing you what you want, not what's real. He looked at her, torn. But if it's true, I could save them. Her voice was soft but firm. And what would it cost? Another world. Another life. The light shifted again. This time, it spoke directly to her. Child of Echo, you were born to replace the Makers. Your body carries the code. Join with the source and the galaxy will be renewed. Ethan grabbed her hand. Don't. That's not renewal, it's control. She shook her head, tears glowing silver. Maybe control is the only way to stop the hunters. The wars. The endless death. Ethan's voice broke. You're talking about rewriting every life in the galaxy. You'll erase them, Lyra. Silence filled the void. Lyra looked at him, really looked at him, and whispered, and if I don't, billions will still die because of what I am. The source pulsed brighter. The decision must be made. Accept creation, or reset it. Ethan turned toward the glowing sphere. His reflection appeared in the light, alone, broken, haunted. Then he looked back at her. You once said you were a mistake, he said. But I don't believe that. You're proof the Makers were wrong. Life doesn't need perfection, it needs choice. She stared at him, trembling. Choice. He stepped closer, his voice low. Let the galaxy choose its own path. Don't take that from them. Lyra closed her eyes. The energy around her swirled violently, reacting to her emotions. The void trembled. Decision required, the source said. Creation or reset. Ethan reached out his hand. Lyra, trust yourself. Her tears drifted upward, glowing like tiny stars. Then she whispered, I choose, life. The void exploded with light. The core of the source rippled, turning from blinding white to soft gold. The echoes of the Makers' voices screamed and then faded into silence. The Vault Intelligence spoke one last time. Choice accepted. Balance restored. The light began to fade. Ethan felt the world collapsing around them. Lyra, he shouted, reaching for her. She smiled weakly, her body glowing brighter. Goodbye, Ethan. The source needs a guardian, and it chose me. Before he could grab her, the light swallowed her whole. Then everything went dark. When Ethan opened his eyes, he was lying in the snow again. The beam was gone. The mountain was quiet. But Lyra was nowhere to be found. He looked up at the sky, where a new golden star now shone among the others. And for the first time since Earth fell, he smiled. Snowflakes drifted quietly across the ruins of the mountain. The beam of light was gone. The air no longer burned with energy, only silence remained. Ethan lay there for a long time, staring at the grey sky. He felt weightless, as if the world itself had paused. When he finally stood, the only sound he heard was the wind. "Lyra," he whispered. But she was gone. Where the source once shone, there was now a smooth circle of glass-like stone, cold, lifeless, and perfectly still. Ethan knelt beside it, touching its surface. It was warm, faintly pulsing like a heartbeat. And then he heard it. A voice, soft, familiar, echoing inside his mind. "Ethan." He froze. "Lyra." "I'm here." But not as before. The source merged with me. I became part of it, and it became part of me. He looked up at the sky, tears in his eyes. "You said goodbye." "I had to. Someone needed to guide the source, to keep it from falling into the wrong hands. I chose to stay." He clenched his fists. "You didn't have to sacrifice yourself." The voice was calm, almost smiling. "It wasn't a sacrifice. It was a beginning." Suddenly, the clouds above him parted. And for the first time, he saw something new in the heavens, a second sun. But this one was soft and golden, glowing with life. "That's you, isn't it?" Ethan whispered. "A piece of me," she said. "A reminder that creation doesn't end, it changes." He sat in the snow, watching the sky for what felt like hours. The world around him began to change slowly. The frozen ground sprouted green moss, the wind warmed, and the silence of the mountain filled with faint sounds of life returning. Lyra had remade the planet. But as he looked closer, Ethan noticed something else. Strange lights were moving across the horizon, ships, maybe, or something new entirely. He raised his wrist communicator, the one he thought was broken. It flickered to life. "Signal detected. Galactic network, rebooted. Human genome, found." Ethan's heart raced. "Humans? There are others." "Yes," Lyra's voice said gently. "The source restored what it could. Fragments of your people were hidden across the stars. They're alive, Ethan. Not many, but enough to begin again." He laughed softly, shaking his head in disbelief. "You did it. You really did it." "No," she said. "We did it. Because you made the choice to believe in imperfection. That's what saved us all." He looked toward the horizon, where the first ships were landing. The air shimmered as small figures stepped out, some human, some alien. They looked around in awe, staring at the revived world. Ethan smiled faintly. "Welcome home," he whispered. Then, for the first time in years, he felt peace. But just as he turned to leave, the glassy stone pulsed again. A small blue crystal rose from its surface, glowing faintly in the snow. He picked it up. Lyra's voice spoke one last time. "Take this. It's a seed of the source. It will listen only to you." He held the crystal close to his chest. "I'll keep it safe." "No," she whispered. "You'll help it grow." The voice faded, carried away by the wind. Ethan looked up once more at the two suns shining in the sky, one red, one gold. A symbol of what was lost and what was found. He smiled and began walking down the mountain, toward the ships, toward the future. As he walked, the wind carried the last echo of her words, soft, distant, but eternal.